Let's move on to main topic number 3. And our third main topic today gets submitted to us by Aidan D, who writes, "Hey, John and friends. Friends, I hope everything is going well. Venom 2 was one of my most anticipated films of the year. I admit, me too, man. And just a couple of days ago, I asked when you thought the trailer could come out. Now we know, not anytime soon. It is now taking the Batman's date of June 2021, which is only 3 weeks before Spider-Man 3. And we now have a title, Venom, Let There Be Carnage, which I think is the perfect amount of silliness for these movies. What do you think about all of this? Thanks. All right. Thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yep. Sadly, Venom 2 has moved. Now, listen, for those of you who watch the show, you know, I surprisingly enjoyed the first Venom. I had far more fun with that movie than I thought I would. I thought it was just a really delightful, good time at the movies. I had a very good time with it. And ever since they announced that Andy Serkis was coming in to direct the second one, I got even more stoked. The title, Venom, Let There Be Carnage, or There Will Be Carnage, I mean, much like There Will Be Blood, is great. It's a fantastic... Actually, Rob, I remember when we read that title out on the show yesterday, all you did was giggle. You just laughed with delight.
I did, man.
You just thought the title was great.
Well, you know, I feel that Sony, especially after the first movie, they really have a handle on what this franchise is supposed to be.
Right.
And look, I didn't think Venom was great, but I had a good time with it. I was surprised at how good of a time with it I had, especially when I watched it again. I liked it even more. But this, you know, when I heard this, I'm like, okay, who doesn't want to see this? I mean, we all want Venom and Carnage to battle, and I can only imagine what that is going to look like in live action. And with Andy Serkis's sensibility, I mean, I'm really excited for this movie now. Hearing that title, I'm like, I'm in. I mean, Come on.
So let's go to the official news here. For those of you who are just hearing about this and getting caught up in this came to us from Variety. Sony's Venom sequel, officially titled Venom, Let There Be Carnage, has delayed its big screen debut. The film was expected to hit theaters on October 2nd, 2020, which I was hoping beyond hope it would hold that date. And I thought it was real possible it could hold that date because principal photography had already been finished. So I was really hoping it would hold that date. However, and it will instead launch 8 months later on June 25th, nearly 9 months later. Venom occupies now the spot that was previously vacated by Robert Pattinson's The Batman, which Warner Brothers recently moved back to October 1st of 2021. So this was all a part of Warner Brothers kind of shifting the sands a bit. Like they just did a big, massive shift around where they moved a lot of their things, so other movies of theirs had to move as well. So again, much like the Batman move, I don't think them moving Venom is a commentary on Venom wasn't going to be ready in time. I think Venom could have been ready in time. I really do, especially with them being as far into principal photography before the shutdown happened. I think they could have been ready for October 1st. I think this is more of a thing of just finding its place in now the new overall schedule for Warner Brothers. And I get that and I understand that, and I think it makes sense. Here's the interesting part with this, though. The move to late June of 2021 puts this movie just 3 weeks before what is currently scheduled as the Spider-Man 3 release date. Just 3 weeks. Now listen, to me, this is not an issue or a matter of, you know, oh, you can't have two big films opening up 3 weeks apart from each other. Yes, you can. I think even 2 weeks. I think you can have two monster blockbuster films. I think if they're even just separated by 2 weeks, 1 week, not enough. 2 weeks, I think, is enough. 3 weeks is an eternity. I think 3 weeks space is plenty of space and plenty of time. So I don't think that's a problem. But it is interesting that Sony has their movie Venom, and then Sony has their movie Spider-Man 3, right now, at least, separated by just 3 weeks. There's some interesting possibilities here, Rob, that creep up. Oh, and by the way, I should mention this. So Tom Hardy got on Instagram. I don't know if you saw this, Rob. Tom Hardy got on Instagram, and he put up a post on Instagram that apparently somebody told him to take down because it was only up for just a little bit. Tom Hardy put this up on Instagram, which is, of course, Venom apparently eating Spider-Man. So I don't know if this was Tom Hardy making a commentary saying, I'm coming for you, Spider-Man, because Spider-Man's opening up 3 weeks later, but they're both Sony films, so I whatever. Rob, there are some people speculating here. With the Morbius trailer that we got, with that Morbius trailer we got, there are some people speculating here, dude, that this could be an issue of Venom maybe leading into Spider-Man 3. Because remember, something that we would have thought unthinkable a while ago, that Morbius trailer had the Spider-Man mural on the wall, and then we saw Michael Keaton as Vulture. Not in his Vulture outfit, but he was in his prison outfit that we saw him at the end of the other Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
That opens up, like, it doesn't necessarily mean anything, but it does open up a world of possibilities. And so between the moving of this date from now just 3 weeks apart from each other in 2021 to, Hardy putting up that image, which could mean anything. Let's just be clear. That could mean anything. It could mean anything at all. But it's got some people wondering about whether or not this is kind of a tie-in. The other option here, Rob, that I think a lot of people are talking about, and understandably so, is these movies are opening 3 weeks apart. One has already done his principal photography. One has not even started shooting yet. As a matter of fact, going back to the story we talked about earlier, Tom Hardy right now doesn't even know when they're going to shoot Spider-Man 3. So there's a prevailing thought as well that Sony isn't going to keep Spider-Man 3 on that release date in July of 2021. That'll probably get pushed back further in the year. So there's a lot of possibilities here, Rob. But anyway, you hear about this. What do you make of the moving of the dates? The fact that it's just 3 weeks away from Spider-Man 3. Could it suggest a connection? Could it suggest Spider-Man 3 is going to get bumped even more? A lot of stuff here on the table, Rob. How do you make sense out of this mess?
Well, I think, look, Spider-Man's going to get pushed no matter what. So I don't think it's going to make that release date. I think, like with all the other Marvel movies, it's going to probably get pushed again. Because remember, that Spider-Man movie's still tying into the MCU. It's not its own thing anymore, because there's still two movies to go in the D. They allowed 2 more Spider-Man movies to be part of the MCU. So I think that it's definitely going to move. That said, I think absolutely they're going to be tied in together. I think that there's a reason that image, I don't know where that Venom image came from of Spider-Man. I don't know if somebody like Boss Logic sent it to Tom or whatever, if they're friends, but that image, that was an interesting looking image. And I'm like, that was certainly it's pretty cool. I think after I would be hard pressed to think that Spider-Man and Venom and Carnage are not going to be in a movie together, because, I mean, come on, John, it's Carnage and Venom, 2 of the big. These are characters that are synonymous with Spider-Man, and I think you have to put them together at some point. I mean, especially after introducing Carnage, I think I would go bananas as a comic fan if we know that matchup is coming. I mean, that's like Godzilla versus King Kong. That's how cool it is. You say Venom and Spider-Man together are going to be in a movie. People are like, bring it on. So I think for sure they're going to be tied in together. I just don't think that Spider-Man is going to come out when it's going to be pushed off its release date. Are
you suggesting you could see Tom Holland, who I keep calling Tom Hardy for some reason? Are you suggesting that we could see Tom Holland in this movie?
I think maybe.
Really?
I mean, I think maybe at least in a post-credit scene. I mean, why wouldn't they? Look, like
it depends on what they're. I mean, it depends on how tied in they want to make the MCU to the Sonyverse. Because we saw that stuff in the Morbius trailer, but it doesn't necessarily mean anything. But you're thinking maybe it does.
I think it absolutely does.
And that's interesting.
I also think, look, we've gotten to the point where they made a deal to put Spider-Man in 2 more movies.
Right.
Why would you not avail yourself of the opportunity to then cross promote. Because one of the things that these movies, you're talking about billion-dollar movies, dude. That's a lot of stuff. I mean, people, can you imagine just as fans if you and I let's say we go see the Carnage movie, the Venom Carnage movie. I want to sit next to you when they show Spider-Man, because we'll both go like, oh my God, we'll freak out. And it'll be totally fun and I think that's what these movies are. They're giving the audience what they want now. And I think now that there's some kind of tie-in, they've been through the whole fan backlash of like, how can you take Spider-Man out of the MCU? Rawr. I think now they're like, all right, we're all going to make a lot of money here. Why don't we have fun while we're doing this? Because that's what everybody wants to see. Why not? And
well, let me throw one. Let me throw one wet blanket on that.
Oh man,
sorry.
You gotta do that.
Just something to consider. Isn't there an inherent danger, though, and risk that if they do tie them together like that, like you mentioned, there's only Spider-Man 3 and one other film they got left on that deal. When that deal ends and Sony keeps going on making their thing, now the MCU has handcuffed themselves because they've already told the movie-going audience now what Sony's doing in their universe is our universe. They're connected now, even when their deal doesn't exist anymore. So isn't there an inherent danger there of causing some confusion with the audience if that happens? Again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, but isn't there a little bit of a danger there?
But they're already, I mean, the thing is, you can't make a Tom Holland Spider-Man movie and not have it be connected to the MCU. I mean, it is. What they're going to have to do is, the great thing about Venom and Carnage is if the world is filled with superheroes and supervillains, like the Los Angeles Police Department doesn't know what the New York Police Department is doing on a daily basis. The New York Police Department can be tracking down bad guys and going after terrorists and doing what they do, just like the LA Police Department does what it does. And so in the MCU, we're going to have to understand that while the Avengers and the Eternals and Captain Marvel, they're all doing their stuff, that somewhere Spider-Man's doing his thing. We just aren't seeing it. It's not part of this particular adventure. And the same would be true of Venom and Carnage. I mean, they're in their own little, there's all kinds of things going on in the world that we just don't see in those movies. So there's no reason that you can't understand that the Spider-Man movies, he's not calling the Avengers right now. The Avengers are off world, or they're busy, or something's going on. And I think it's okay, because at one point, when Tom Holland goes back and only makes Spider-Man movies for Sony, he'll already been in what, 7 or 8 MCU films at that point. So we'll have to understand that these universes are in fact connected.
So what happens if Sony wants to say in one of their movies Chicago gets destroyed? Just for argument's sake. Let's say Sony decides in one of their movies that Chicago gets destroyed. What does the MCU do now? Because they've already said that in the MCU world, do they have to say Chicago got destroyed?
I think so. I mean,
isn't that something Kevin Feige is going to resist, saying, I don't want to give Sony power over my movies and what I do in my movies? I mean, I don't know. I think it becomes complicated, but it is what everybody wants to see, and maybe they can figure out a way to do it, and it would be exciting if they do. But listen, guys, I wanted to know what you guys thought about that, so I made that the topic of today's question of the day. And the question of the day today that I put up on my Twitter, simply over at John Campea, I put this up just before the show started. Right now, almost 1,500 of you guys have responded, and I simply asked the question. Venom, There Will Be Carnage, just moved 3 weeks before Spider-Man 3 in 2021. Does this suggest the films may be connected? Does Sony not mind them being close together? Or will Sony move Spider-Man 3? Right, and it's fairly close. Right now, 43.7% of you guys are saying Sony will move Spider-Man 3. 30.1% of you are thinking they'll leave it there, but it doesn't mean anything because just 3 weeks is enough distance. And 26.1% of you, that's a big number, think that these films are indeed connected, which is an actual possibility here. So that's what you guys are saying right now. Question is for you guys, what do you think about that? Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right.